Welcome to 8 Pixel Radio. Today's guest is...
Femke. Hello, everyone.
Yay.
I'm so excited to be on this. I am very honored to be on this episode. My name's Femke. If you haven't heard of me, I'm a product designer currently living in Toronto, Canada. And I'm currently working at a company called Wealthsimple, which is a sort of financial investing company based here in Canada. Prior to that, I worked at Uber for 4 years, and I also have a couple of side projects. You may have heard of my podcast Design Life, which I do with Charlie Marie, who I'm pretty sure was maybe the first guest on this show.
Sure.
So there's an episode with her, which is awesome. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I teach product design and research. So yeah, a little bit of a portfolio there.
Excellent. I actually use Wealthsimple, so this is a nice link for me. Love the product. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I will pass on the feedback.
Great. All right, let's do the questions. Let's jump in, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, question number 1. What one song or album can you listen to on repeat and why?
So this is a tie between 2 albums by the same artist, and I'm slightly embarrassed to reveal. It is either the album Speak Now or Red by Taylor Swift, which I feel is very cliche. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Swiftie, but those albums I listened to so much a decade ago that are just so ingrained in my head. And I think there's also something about the fact that I went to her live tours that she had for these 2 albums, which was a really big deal because I grew up in New Zealand and we rarely have big artists come to New Zealand. And so Taylor Swift was one of those big artists at the time, one of the only few who would tour down under in New Zealand. So that's my only big tour experience is going to her concerts down there. And so I think that's just stuck with me over time.
Okay, if you have to pick one of those albums, which one is it?
Probably Speak Now, I think.
That was quick.
Yeah, that was quick actually. So maybe I should have just gone with that one.
Is there any particular tracks that stand out for you?
All the tracks. I mean, I really like Enchanted is a really good song. Speak Now, the actual song. I just have memories of listening to that album on CD in the car, back in the day, when you would put CDs in the car, just driving around with my partner and we would just listen to that all the time. And so, yeah, that's probably the one that stuck with me the most.
That's nice. That's really nice. Would you do one of her tracks at karaoke?
No, I couldn't do it justice. She is amazing. I would not try to attempt to top Taylor Swift in a karaoke session.
You will honor her by allowing only
Yeah. I would honor her by declining.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you like her most recent stuff?
It's very different. Yeah, I do like it. I don't feel like I have the same anthem vibe like her early work did, but I do like the chill vibe of it, and I'll have it on the background. But it's not something I think I would listen to in my car and sing along with. It's just a
You're not going to
different vibe.
scream along to the track she did with Bon Iver, are you?
Right, exactly. You're more I'm drinking a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And it's dark and wintry.
Yeah.
Yeah, very different vibe.
Yeah. To be honest with you, is my kind of vibe. So I'm gonna get on the Swift train, but for the newer stuff. But I'll let you have her older material.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you can have that one. Okay. The second question, or question 1B, I guess, is actually a random question, which I haven't asked you to prepare for.
Okay, let's do it.
Interested to see where you go with this one. The question is, when was the first podcast released?
Of my show, my podcast?
Of podcasting.
Podcasting in general? Oh, this is a trivia question?
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. I'm going to guess is it pre-iPhone? I'm going to guess it is not I mean, I guess people were releasing radio episodes pre-iPhone, but I'm going to guess the traditional podcasting came with the iPhone. So in that case, I guess I'm going to guess 2011.
Final answer?
Yeah. Am I wrong? I feel
You're
like I'm
you're
wrong.
in you're not that far out, but in terms of the scale of like digital, you're way out. It it was actually in 2004, which is a
Oh
very long time
man.
ago, really.
You
And
know what? It's
yeah,
like kind of crazy that came out so long ago, yet there's been very little like evolution on
yeah,
podcasting.
yeah, yeah, that's true. It was actually developed by a person called Adam Curry, who was a former MTV person, and they coded a program called iPodder,
No way.
yeah, which allowed them to download things onto their iPod. So iPod was actually
Oh.
not called Pod. There was no link until these people made up this iPodder thing. And then in a year later, in 2005, iTunes actually officially supported it.
Oh wow. This is surprising news to me. Both like the iPod thing and that it was 2004. It's a
Yeah,
long time.
it is. It is. And this may feel even further away, is that in 2005, podcast was the word of the year.
The word of what determines a word to be the word of the year?
Like popularity.
Wait, in 2005? I feel like I
Yes,
never heard the word
16 years ago.
podcast in 2005.
So we are
I must have been real out of
very
touch.
slow. Our train is shipped, like it's gone. Our
Yeah.
train has passed.
Yeah. We are laggards in this industry.
Yeah, exactly. Like keep up, kids. All right.
Good
The,
fact. Thank you.
the actual second question is a little bit more serious. And it is, what do you find yourself consistently having to convince other people of?
I think for me, I'm constantly telling people that they're in control of their own time and that you can make time for the things that really matter to you. I feel like as someone that has a lot of side projects, I very frequently get asked, how do you have time to do all of this? Like, how do you balance everything? How do you find the time? And the answer is like, I don't find the time. I make the time by like saying no to things and prioritizing and, making space and time for things that I care about. And yeah, I talk to a lot of people who wish that they had the time to do the things that they want to do. And it's like, well, you do have the time. It's up to you how you want to spend it and how you want to, prioritize that time that you do have. So yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm constantly telling other people about and sharing.
Have you found yourself having to sacrifice a lot by
I
saying no?
mean, yeah, like by saying no, you're sacrificing something, right? And it might be something as little as like, oh, I'm not going to watch TV tonight, and instead I'm going to tinker on a side project. It could be something bigger, like, oh, I'm going to say no to this client or this like business opportunity in favor of doing something else that I care about. So yeah, I think those sacrifices can be as small or as big as you make it.
With regards to like forgetting other people, all the things that you do, how do you prioritize those things and how do you say no to yourself?
I am still getting like practicing this because that is hard, and I definitely find myself sometimes like overworking or burning out. Sorry, there's like drilling going on. My apologies. Um, So yeah, I'm still working on that, but I find that I try to prioritize the things that feel most closely aligned with my current values or goals,
Mm,
and then kind of sort of put the others aside until later on.
yeah. No, I can kind of relate. I guess I don't do as many other things as you do, but watching a TV show,
Right.
realistically, like do you need that vacuous time in your life if you have these goals that you want to do? At the same time, we definitely need to check out of kind of work mode. I struggle with that balance. And sometimes we'll just watch 4 or 5 TV show episodes in a row because that's what I need to do at that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not saying never watch TV or like never do the things that bring you joy or relaxation. It's more about like prioritizing, right? And like balancing those things. And if you say yes to TV every day, then you're not going to be able to say yes to those other things. So it's really about prioritizing and making the time for things that are important to you at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a sort of fine line, I guess, between people feeling like they have to do this extra stuff and not.
Yeah.
I think that what you do, you enjoy it. As kind of what your hobby is, right? Is doing other creative exploits. Whereas if you don't
Yeah.
find that as interesting outside of work, then don't do it. It's totally fine.
Exactly. There's no expectation, right? And I think that's also why I've intentionally kept them side projects. Like, I often get asked, "Oh, are you going to take it full time?" Or "When are you going to take this full time?" And it's like, well, I like that it's a side project because, I can do what I want with it and tinker with it. And it doesn't have to be this thing I rely on for income or anything. And so that gives you a little bit more creative freedom to like make it fun and do something that you enjoy doing without that pressure or burden of like making it an income or a job for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. As soon as you start to introduce things like targets and revenue streams, and
Yeah, it gets stressful.
that becomes a little bit too serious for what you
Yeah.
started it for. And if you
Oh,
are employed anyway, then you don't necessarily need that stress, right?
exactly.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the next question.
Cool.
What's the best thing you've never worked on?
Okay, so this is a website or a platform called Trade Me, and you've probably never heard of it. It's trademe.co.nz. It is a website in New Zealand, and it is, in my opinion, the most superior and delightful auction trading and bidding website, kind of like eBay, if you're familiar with eBay, but it's like built in New Zealand for the New Zealand market. And I just think it is a fantastic experience.
That I wasn't expecting that, but I really enjoy it. And I tell you why I enjoy it is because it kind of shows how important it is to have things local to a market. eBay is
Hmm.
humongous. When I lived in Australia for a bit, I couldn't use Amazon. Not that I would necessarily want to, but I couldn't use Amazon because they didn't deliver there to Sydney.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you needed a local version. eBay did,
Right.
and I ended up using eBay loads. But if you sort of go to another place where you don't get this thing, you have to use another version. And having that sort of local New Zealand specific answer to a question is really nice. And I'm actually quite happy you championed that.
Yeah, totally. And like eBay exists in New Zealand, but nobody uses it because everybody loves the homegrown New Zealand version, which is Trade Me. And I think there's also just some really delightful touches on Trade Me that I don't see replicated on other sort of auction trading websites. Like the whole kind of experience of like listing an item for sale. Everyone like has to bid on the item like on the website. There's no like private DMing between people. It's all kind of done on the website. And then when somebody wins, it's like automatically marked as sold. And I don't know what your experience has been like with eBay and the like, but like I don't find that a delightful experience to use. And so yeah, ask any New Zealander and they'll probably tell you how much they love Trade Me. It's like almost part of Kiwi culture at this point.
Anything put on like the country's values, Trade Me is.
Yeah, it's a very like we're very into like DIY there and like, secondhand stuff and like reusing things. And so it just really fits in with the culture of that. And yeah, ask anyone and they will have used Trade Me for sure.
I think I will. I think I will. Every Kiwi I meet now, I'm going to ask them, "Hey, is this your
Yeah,
favorite website? And if it's not, why is it not?"
that's a great question to ask any Kiwi. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. It was really nice. It was a bit of a surprise. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have a word from our sponsors. Today's
Woohoo.
episode is brought to you by Design Portfolios, because who really knows what companies want? PDFs, personal websites, it's all a bit of a blur. And let's be honest, we're all quite unsure of the best way to apply for a job these days. I personally like to just skew some mobile app screens and consider my job done. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And question 4,
Woohoo.
what would your last meal be?
So I have a favorite restaurant, which is called Hotel de Goudfazant, and it is this restaurant in Amsterdam. I used to live in Amsterdam for 5 years, and it's like kind of in the north part of Amsterdam on this little pier. You can like take a ferry across from the city to the restaurant, and the restaurant is in an old kind of mechanics warehouse. So it's got this very industrial vibe. They have like old cars like up on the jacks. So it's this very like industrial feeling, but they have really great kind of French European fusion food. And when I go there, I almost always get the lamb dish, or there's also duck sometimes. So, like either of those two dishes, I would like personally order to be couriered to me here in Canada to have as my last meal.
Okay, let's go into a little bit more detail. What's coming with it? What? If you got the lamb, how is it cooked? What's on the side? Let's go a bit deeper.
Oh, okay, so it's been a few years since I've been to the restaurant, but from memory, so the lamb is cooked, just perfectly like medium rare would be my preference, with a really nice kind of buttery garlic sauce. There's probably some like braised or steamed carrots or broccoli, some sort of vegetable like that. Maybe there's like mashed or could be like fried potatoes, and then a very, very nice glass of red wine, which I would also require with my final meal. But yes, it's a very nice, nice intimate setting.
Would you like the bottle of wine?
Of course, I would like the bottle.
That's a
Yeah,
given.
think so.
I know we're being really specific with the restaurant and their particular main. Have you considered starters? Is there any extra stuff you want to pack in?
Oh, yeah. So they usually have some starters that are like there's usually like a little cheese plate with some like sort of charcuterie style, maybe some like pickled onions or something in there, maybe some like pate. So that's probably my starter. And then for the dessert, they have I think it's called Schokolade cake or something like that, which is basically like chocolate mother cake. And it's like death by chocolate. It's like this heavenly chocolate cake, or like, yeah, I can't even describe it. It's basically chocolate on a plate, very dark, very rich, a lovely way to end the meal.
Nice. I know that some people would be horrified by having a cheese board before a meal. What's your perspective on that? I actually don't care. Like, I would eat cheese anytime.
I love cheese. I actually regularly, maybe like a couple times a week, will like cut myself up some cheese to nibble on while I'm cooking dinner.
Yeah,
So I love a good like cheese and wine. You're cooking, you're making food. I don't know, cheese at all time of the day is acceptable to me.
that's very fair. Very fair. And for this meal, considering it is the last meal, have you considered what the crime was that you committed for it?
I have. So I was likely probably sort of engaging in some sort of protest or march for like climate change or women's rights. And maybe, I don't know, some reason I got arrested for, standing up for those causes. Hopefully, it's not a big enough crime that I would be in a last meal situation, but nevertheless, might have ended up in jail.
A worthy cause.
Worth it.
Maybe you were championing the auction website from back home.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what was happening, and you got thrown
Yeah,
into
who knows?
jail.
Totally.
Great. That sounds like a delicious meal. I would definitely have a go. Very big fan of
Yes.
ham. Very big fan.
Same.
Okay. Question 5, last question. What is your favorite curse word?
Crikey. It's a very down under
Crikey.
word. Yeah, very Steve Irwin-esque. I know. It's very,
Felt
very,
like
very
you just
classic.
stepped back 200 years in England and you've arrived.
Yeah, I don't know. Or I don't know if it's like intentional, but I will often just like that's the word that spits out of my mouth is like crikey. Um, I don't know. I like saying it. It's got that like harsh K sound in it, similar to other curse words that I'm sure we're very familiar with. And it's funny whenever I say it, like I see people's reactions like that's an odd one. Um, and yeah, it's kind of endearing. I like it. It's like crikey, like yeah, it's definitely a favorite for
Yeah,
me.
it's very strange because it's not as harsh as something
No.
else, but when you when you stretch it out, you can feel the intensity,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
can also see that in
Crikey.
your face. It's like,
Yeah, like
"Crikey, this is very serious, this problem that we have."
totally. And like depending on the context or the situation, you can change the intonation up, it's like crikey, like, oh, that's frustrating. Like I just dropped something, or it's like, crikey, like really again, are we going to do this? You can really play with the intonation of that word.
I feel I feel like I'm listening to a sound actor, a voice actor
Yes.
doing the curse word section of a book or
I'm
something.
trying to justify my choice of
Like,
favorite curse word.
no,
Okay.
another take, do it a different way. That was really good. It's also, you could say that in front of children and you'd be fine.
Yes, it's very family friendly.
Yeah, yeah. What a lovely
It's a
surprise
bonus.
that curse word was. I really enjoyed that.
Giving you two lovely surprises in
Yeah,
this
you've just
show.
been rolling with these surprises today, and I'm really enjoying it. I might try and enroll this crikey into my
Yeah,
regular
please. We
scheduled
need
program.
more. More of us are needed.
Yeah, this is what you get thrown in jail for. This is your last meal. You get saying that you're trying to protest for people to use that word, and then
Yeah, and
you
then it's
you in the
over.
clink. All
Hmm.
right, well, that's all the questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was so
Thank you.
easy.
Thank you so much for attending today's podcast. Your answers were surprising, as we just mentioned, and enlightening. And I would eat that meal right now.
Me too. Especially even though it's 2:30 in the afternoon for me, I would totally eat it now.
Yeah, anytime for lamb.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me.